Hello everyone, this is Miguel the Movie Encyclopedia signing in for a new movie review. For today's episode, I will be reviewing Disney's Cruella, the live-action reimagining of the 101 Dalmatians villain played by La La Land's Emma Stone. Set in 1970s London, the film follows Estella, played by Emma Stone, a bold young fashion designer who is hired by the Baroness, played by Emma Thompson, who is London's most acclaimed fashion designer. And during the events of this film, Estella decides to start a war utilizing both fashion and crime to upstage the Baroness and take her place as the biggest fashion designer in England. Cruella tries to blend a dark and edgy crime comedy with a family friendly Disney origin story, and although there are great moments from both stories, they don't always mesh well together. Luckily, the great performances and brilliant costume and makeup design keep this movie from being a completely uneven mess. When this movie wants to be an edgy and dark crime comedy, it does this very well. The heists are fun and well plotted, and the story gets shockingly dark, especially when dealing with the rivalry between Cruella and the Baroness. When Cruella wants to be a family friendly Disney movie, it actually works. The story stays well within the confines of the PG rating system, PG 13 rating system, and tells a compelling origin story for the iconic villain. However, when the movie tries to combine these two distinct tones, it makes Cruella feel somewhat uneven. In these scenes, the movie feels like it's trying to imitate Maleficent, a sympathetic retelling of a classic villain story. It was fine the first time around, but to repeat this again with Cruella feels somewhat hollow at certain points in the movie, like it's trying to rip off another person's good idea. However, the film's tone, which feels like a mix between Devil Wears Prada and Ocean's 11, makes this movie feel unique despite its predictable story. And this movie has just enough surprises in the second act that probably won't shock viewers, but will definitely intrigue them. The performances in this movie are great, and surprisingly one of the best aspects of this film. The union of the Emmas, Stone, and Thompson is a sight to behold that should be witnessed on the big screen, if possible. Both actresses chew up every bit of scenery they can get their hands on and gives us two wonderful over-the-top villains that really feel like live-action versions of Disney villains. Although I want to add that the writers take Emma Thompson's The Baroness to a whole other level of evil that not even Walt Disney era animated films would even touch, it's something that really needs to be seen to be believed. However, the best performance came from Emma Stone's Cruella as she juggles two characters, the meek but passionate thief Estella and the rude and dastardly alter ego she has had since childhood, Cruella, and how Stone blends those two characters together to make Cruella de Vil, who has the heart of Estella but the bad girl designer tone of Cruella, is really what makes Emma Stone's performance stand out, compared to Glenn Close's and Betty Lou Garrison's performances from the original 101 Dalmatians. Not to saying that Emma Stone's is better than those two performances, it's just different. It feels like Emma Stone is really working double time when playing this character, and as a longtime fan of the actress, I really appreciate the amount of effort she is putting in for a movie like this. Two actors, though, that very few critics are talking about in this film are Joel Fry and Paul Walter Hauser as Cruella's henchmen Jasper and Horace. These two characters from the 101 Dalmatians movies were incredibly forgettable, interchangeable bad guys that really had no personality, while this adaptation of the film fills them with so much personality, so much charm, and so much humor that you can't help but love these two characters. They are two of the best highlights of this film and really should be talked about more when discussing this film. They are great, charming, and they really do a great job of bringing Cruella de Vil down to earth. Obviously, you can't go without talking about this movie without talking about the incredible makeup, costume, and hair design. This movie is absolutely stunning with its practical effects driven makeup and costume design. This movie from beginning to end is just gorgeous. It really is astounding how much attention to detail and how much, I guess, work the costume designers and makeup stylists put into making the style of Cruella so unique from other films, both Disney and just live action films in general. I mean, I gotta be honest, this movie is destined to get nominations for Best Makeup and Hairstyling and Best Costume Design. And if it doesn't, that will be a great shame and an unbelievable snub from the Academy Awards. But given the fact that one of the costume designers is an Academy Award winning designer, I feel like we're definitely going to be seeing this movie get a few awards at the Oscars. Well, that's it for today's episode. My overall thoughts. Cruella isn't the greatest Disney live action remake we've ever gotten, but it's definitely a league above films like Mulan and Jon Favreau's The Lion King, even if it never quite reaches the same heights as ironically, Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book. Cruella is fun, dark, dastardly, and ultimately an interesting take on such an iconic villain with a bunch of great performances to boot. I'm going to give Cruella a 7.3 out of 10 stars. This is a very good movie, especially if you're a Disney fan, but I wouldn't put your expectations as high as something like Aladdin or Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book. Thank you all for watching. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe to my channel, comment what you thought of this video, and make sure to share with friends. Make sure to follow Miguel the Movie Encyclopedia on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to get updates on new episodes and geek culture news. Speaking of which, if you want to hear me talk about geek culture, including movies, TV shows, and video games, check out the Movie Encyclopedia podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you find your podcast episodes. I post episodes monthly talking about the biggest geek culture announcements and reviews of the previous month. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, stay safe and see you then.